All right. So we started by talking about sort of building an online presence. So
Organically or
organically or paid. And in either case, the way to do that initially is you need to start by building your brand. Now, again, organically or paid is more, that's the exposure that you get, right? So there's times where organically you can post something and it might gets a whole bunch of views, it gets a whole bunch of action, everything like that, just because people like it for whatever reason, right? And then there's, you can have something and you pay to get it in front of so many people. It's like anything with advertising, right? But in either case, in order for it to be effective, it needs to deliver value. So we talked about delivering value comes in by either being educational, inspirational, or entertaining, right? Business like yours, I would guess that the majority of that's going to be in the educational or inspirational.
correct.
So the right now, currently in our current sort of social market, the most effective way to get traction out of people and the easiest way to build a brand that people can connect with is through it. That's why we operate the way that we do. And so, but with that, it takes a lot of video to see what's working and what's not. So one of the reasons that we record podcasts like this is because we do record a bunch of one-offs. So when I talk about a lot of video, we're talking 1 or 2 videos per day going out to multiple social platforms, it's substantial. And so one of the reasons that we do stuff like this is because then we can take small segments out of a long form like this, record for a half hour or so, but then be able to pull 20 to 30 small segments, that are maybe, 30 seconds to a minute or so, and then be able to post those, or, reformat them and everything, post those out to multiple platforms. It just gives you the ability to create a lot of content in a very short period of time. Now, the benefit of consistently posting and everything the way that I'm talking about is it allows you to test the language that's going to work. Okay, so right now, maybe you have an idea of what might connect with your audience. You can make an educated guess, right? But the way to truly know is to test it. And the way to test it is through consistency and not always saying the same thing. Test what messages are working, what language is working, what, everything. And the one of the reasons that, like you said, that I love personally, or organically posting, I have no problem putting money behind something, but I kind of want to know that it's probably going to work before I start putting any dollar.
So you're saying you typically go the organic route first to test things, and then you go pay advertising the second?
It's sort of a combination of both, right? So like right now, I have large social followings, right? That I built organically over time, over years doing.
Okay.
When someone's just first getting started, it's not a bad idea to put a little bit of money behind just to get it in front of more eyeballs. Otherwise, that way you're not sitting on, if only 10 people see something, that doesn't really give us any kind of a real indication of if anyone liked it or not, because only 10 people looked at it to begin with. Does that make sense?
Sure. Simple sense.
Yeah, well, exactly. Whereas if we can get it in front of a couple thousand people or 10,000 people, well, now we have an idea of, how long did they watch this video? Where did they cut up? Where did they, then we can start making some more educated decisions about what could potentially work. And that's how we're quite on. Absolutely.
Before you partnered with Mario, it sounds like, was your emphasis video or his emphasis?
Kind of both. So at the companies that both companies that I was at, and I spent about a decade in the digital marketing software space. But I always, with pretty much everything that I did, I pushed video as much as possible, whether it was through a webinar format or through educational videos, or because of the technology industry, software demos and things like that.
So have you tested video necessarily to say, oh, it's clearly the attention getter as opposed to an email or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I think email is a great way to test as well. But again, you need the email list. You need a substantial list, and that comes from people coming to your website or landing page or whatever from these videos.
So with video,
And answer, you need both. So yeah, absolutely. You get both.
I mean, initially, like you said, if you're sending emails, you need an email list. But with video, you just said that.
Well, you build the email list from people watching videos. So if we're talking about sort of a typical funnel, right? You have your sort of awareness phase, right? And then you have more of like an education phase and a conversion phase.
And are you talking videos in each segment?
Well, yeah, because you talk about different things throughout that process, but also just in the market in general. So if we hypothetically say that there's 3 million people who could be interested potentially in what Kurt offers, we know that, all right, so if there's also people who are at different stages of that buying cycle, right? Just look whatever's going on in their life, right? The buying window opens and closes, and you don't know where they're at. You don't know how much they know. You don't know where they're at. And so that's why as well, having the consistency, you gotta consistently try to stay in front of people. But it's gonna take a while for someone who's maybe much further, who just kind of likes your message, but they're not ready to read your book. They're not ready to, but they like what you have to say, right? That's going to take longer for actually them to give you their email. So, whereas someone who maybe has had something happen, and I'm trying to think of, yes, clienteling perspective. Yeah, right. They're looking for some answers. Those people, their buying window is pretty wide open. And so they might be more in, now, does that mean we want to forget about the other people? Absolutely not. Right. And then there's a whole bunch of people that are in between those two as well. And that's where having the consistency in constantly going out, right? But then also making it easy for people to opt in. So that's where you start building your email list. So with an email list, we want to have a lead capture. With that, we want to have something that is a low barrier of entry. So you want to ask for very little information from them, right? So, and like create email initially, and then we want to stay in front of them, but we want a high perceived value with a low barrier of entry. I don't know about you, I don't sign up for newsletters. If someone says sign up for news, no. Give me a reason to. So that's where an initial sort of lead magnet, which would be a video. Could be a video. Could be a download. Could be a checklist of things that they can do each day. Could be that's something that can be developed. It could be an electronic version of your book. That'd be very high perceived value, I would imagine. As opposed to a physical copy that costs you money to send out. It doesn't cost anything to send someone an email with a PDF. So I guess that's not a big deal, but I'm not sure why that popped up. This is the computer can be remoted. Well, it can be remoted in by our employees. So I'm not sure if that's what that was, or or if just decided to do that. But but so having that, like I said, high perceived value, low barrier of entry. You can drive people initially. So initially, we just want people to watch your videos on, right? We just want them to see your face, get introduced to your brand, and then.
And those intro videos, are you asking for edit?
No, we just want them to watch, right? So, and they're all So when you think about social, we want to keep it very much awareness based. Right? Very much they just want to learn who you are. Just learning who you are by providing some level of value. Yes. And then eventually we want to start to sprinkle in some more conversion videos. Hey, if you like this, go here, click the link over here, whatever, right?
Can I ask a question? Pardon me for interrupting. No, so you talked about initial videos for awareness. And let's say, and again, I don't really know what's going on in this market, but let's say Joe Jones sees my initial video and he's interested, or just he's aware now. When we said the second and third and fourth video, how does it get back to Joe?
Well, that's the benefit of how the algorithms on social media work. So if someone watches, so for example, on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, right? If someone watches all of a video,
You know whether it's like the whole thing?
doesn't matter, right? You're going to learn more at a large scale. All right, so I had 1,000 people view this.
Okay.
50% of them made it past this point. That you can know all that information.
Okay.
But we don't necessarily know or care who they are initially, right? Because and really on the level of on social media, we just want to get exposure to the brand initially, right? So that then when we do have something that goes out that's a little more converged, where it's, hey, go here, do this, it's that you're not a stranger to them.
God,
they know who you are, right? We are able to know, like, and trust you, and it takes them being introduced to your brand. Just because they watch a video with you does not mean they're going to remember who you are. It's going to take multiple times of them seeing you, and that's why that consistency and that volume going out is important as well.
And then as far as video itself, are you convinced that video is the way as opposed to it? I know you talked about you need the
I
in that new world we live.
The difference is on, okay, if you build an email list, you own that list, right? Okay, you will never own your social media follow. So whereas I have a decent sized social following on multiple platforms and everything, if Instagram changes a rule, if TikTok changes, Facebook changes a rule, I'm at their mercy. It's their, it's still on their platform. It's their rules, not mine. Whereas with email marketing, you control that. So it's a matter of taking some control over those people who are interested.
And as far as getting someone's attention, you convince them it's the way to do that.
Yes.
As opposed to straight you're getting an email.
Well, I personally don't believe in cold email market. I'm a firm believer in you market to people who request that information, because I know I don't look or give any value to cold emails, right? But if it's someone who I've given them information,
cold video.
Well, cold videos, that's just on social media. So people again go to social media, whether it's again YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. They go there to be entertained, right? Or to be, to kill time or to whatever, right? And so then it's just a matter of connecting with them. So I do believe video is the most effective way to connect with people.
Okay. Thanks for explaining it.
And so once you get their email, like I said, then you can market to them accordingly. You still need to be able to provide value. We don't want to just say, hey, bye.
Right.
Who wants to read an email like that?
Right.
And so it's a matter of continuing to provide value and then adding those conversion points, those conversion-centric messages, sprinkled it.
Do you do all that? I mean, do you do the converting messages parentheses?
That's originally one of those Mario and I met was helping him with the conversion messaging specific to life insurance. So
you specialize.
We can help with that. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's but then also with the video stuff. So let's say eventually we're asking someone to buy something. We're asking them to buy your course.
Okay.
Right? We recommend putting out something like VSL, Sanskrit video sales letter on the page where they're purchased, right? And that just goes through and explains the value getting it, right?
It's embedded into the video.
That video is embedded onto the landing page.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's a matter of having something like that So when people make it to that page at some point, right, to the purchase point, we want to be able to explain to them what they're getting, set some expectations, introduce them to you, go through that process. Certainly a methodical process in putting together.
And you do what pages?
No, we partner with other firms that do. So we try to stay away from that. Just it's a lot of drive and work, and
So your specialty is video production?
Video marketing. Sorry, is certainly where we specialize.
And then as far as managing that and the what do you call it, the algorithms and all that, do you do that as well?
Yeah, helping people.
That's all.
Authority optimize. Yeah. So when it comes to anything paid, we work with other vendors on other firms that only specialize in paid stuff, right? So each of these things are kind of a different animal. And any firm that says, I'm gonna do it all is, it's kind of like when you try to be everything to everybody,
right?
You're nothing to anybody,
right?
And that's the same thing in this world. It's truly takes, but we have specific firms that we work with that we worked with before, and it helps
with video marketing.
Yes.
Does that include podcasts?
Yes. That's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Right. And again, the benefit of podcasting is you can get a lot of video, right? It gets to the old stand in front of a camera, right? And there's 3 things you can do to blah, 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 right? And we had stuff like that. Whereas with, again, podcasts, you can break it down into several segments to get a lot of content out of a very short period.
So within under your video marketing umbrella, it includes the editing.
Yes, we have a team of editors that go through it. Yeah, so we use a combination of a few things. So as you can see, we've got 3 cameras here, right? It's going to spit out 3 separate files. We're recording audio separately here. So four files is what is going to, so we have a team of editors who will piece all that together, make that look nice. So when I'm talking, camera's on me. When you're talking, it's on you. And other times, it's going to be here in the middle.
Okay.
And so what we want to do with that is then we take that long form video. That's what we call it. It's a longer, that's 20 minutes. Or now, whatever it is.
Right.
And then we actually use some other technology to identify where there's potential nuggets of, potential short video.
Technology determines that?
Yeah.
Really?
It takes a lot. People can go through and do it manually, but we have some people who do, some clients that want to do it that way. But otherwise, we have technology that helps identify that. Artificial intelligence technology identifies those things. Okay. But then we take it out of there and we reformat it. So one thing that's different is depending on where where your video is, there's going to be some platforms that want it like this, right? So just like a TV, other platforms that want it like that. And so reformatting it and then putting other things, putting captions or subtitles that look cool and do, that having something at the end that prompts people to subscribe and like, and these are all things that are important on these short form videos.
Okay.
And so they go through, so we have someone that goes through, puts all that stuff on there, identifies it, and then works with you to schedule that out so that it gets dispersed.
Okay. And then we talked earlier about course, a workshop, books and stuff like that, but if I wanted to create a course and have voiceovers, do you do that type of stuff?
We could certainly do that. Or we could do it. I would recommend doing it where they still see your face as well. People connect with people. So having simply even if it's just a voiceover with a PowerPoint, I don't think you're going to connect at the same level as if they can look into your eyes while you're talking.
And how do you look at the face and course on the same screen? Do you alternate, or
I'm recommending alternating, and moving it that way. So we do a lot. Yeah. Talented group of editors, graphic designers. They can take care of that.
That was great.
So, so it's just a matter of pushing people to that initial offer. First, just to know who you are. That's step one. And that takes a little bit of time. Unless you got a whole lot of money, that sort of takes time or money, one way or the other to get in front of people.
Sounds good.
And then we can drive them towards whatever that initial sort of. I recommend initially having sort of opt-in, right? Start building your email list or like that, and then also driving that towards your initial offering, your product, and then from that, then we can. We can talk about pushing them towards other things, towards coaching, towards workshops, towards fill off that. But yeah, step one is just getting people to love you.
Yeah.
And that
takes a little time.
Basically, even if you put money behind it, it still takes it. So
when you say time, what are you thinking, Mike? If I can't even imagine putting 2 videos out a day and taking your word for it, this is
possibly, yeah.
And if you did that, are you talking 3 months where you get traction, or 30 days, or 6 years?
Sure. So different traction means different things. So initially, traction could be just getting people to see stuff, right? Getting in front of enough people where it feels validating, at least.
Sure.
And then traction as far as pushing people towards, an opt-in or an actual product, right? Well, that's going to be different too. And so it depends on how much money is pushed. The short answer, right? So unless by chance, you end up just going viral on something or something like that, right? Which like when highly unlikely. That's exactly right. Chances are it's gonna take a couple months, months initially, and then starting to see sort of those initial sales come back.
And to get to the sales point, Jimmy, do you help with price? I don't even know the course itself.
Yeah. I can make recommendations. So in the consulting and coaching world, I've worked with a lot of people in that business. So the initial software I told you about, the company that I worked for, our bread and butter was certainly in the author coach world, right? And so we worked with some very large people on that level, but we worked with a lot of smaller ones too. And so as far as understanding that funnel and stuff, we'd initially pricing, let's look at what others are doing. Initially look at competition. When you said $75 initially, that sounds high to me, to be perfectly honest.
For a
course. And this is not me. This is not a judgment on your course.
Well, I understand.
What I know people buy online, at everything. It might be,
and if you sold up for 25, and you got more participants, you build your following.
Well, and again, if the goal is so sort of the initial sale, a lot of time, what I tell people to look at is you want to look at that as almost a replacement of advertising costs. That's your loss leader. And so if you can get away with where it's getting enough volume that it's paying for your ad cost, right? Because we know that the real goal is to sell them on these other high ticket items. Then that's a win, right? Because the initial part is a wash. That's paying for you to get in front of people.
Okay.
And then the real goal, driving me nuts. The real goal is to eventually get them into some of these other programs and other things.
Okay.
Now what that means is that initial sale also needs to, so the course, for example, needs to be good enough to where they want to buy something else, where they're willing to really pull out the checkbook and give you some, scratch some cash. And that's where you really make money. But if you can initially, like I said, break even on that first offering, that's sort of that's the goal. Yeah.
Then you're building a following, you're covering your costs.
And we're not just delivering that initial product and then saying, all right, see you later, we'll never talk. That's where email marketing and things like that also come into play, because we can then, with that, all right, we know they purchased this, so now we put together a funnel that specifically drives them towards, getting coaching, getting some services.
And so who does that analysis when you said that's not the or connection, but you won't.
Well, yeah, and so there's software that fulfills on stuff like that for it. And we can recommend stuff like that. That's like I said, companies that I worked for before. That software manages that process, manages that customer life cycle to do those upsells.
But how do you, and that sounds good, and I've heard that before, but how does a guy, no knowledge of the software stuff, do you guys provide assistance to someone like me to implement that software properly?
Yeah, we can initially give you advice on it. Yeah, and then like I said, there's other companies where if a build out is needed, things like that, or we can get you. No, but all right, yeah.
Okay. So,
Um,
can you give me an idea of what it would cost someone like me to get this thing off the ground initially with zero?
So where I would start would be, like I said, I would start with just doing sort of the 2 videos a day. Yeah. Like I said, before you put any money behind anything else, right? If you do that in a podcast format, okay, we charge. So what you want to, in most cases, you're going to have about, four podcasts per month, 1 week, right? And then that means that if we're going to have 2 videos about a day, we need to find about 15 segments per podcast.
So we tape 1 a week.
Well, what I would recommend is actually doing a day where you just have either different people come in or just, and knock 4 out in a day. So more sure a full day of recording is how other clients do it. That's a lot easier than what 1 week is going to get. You're going to burn yourself out. Whereas you knock it all out in a day, 1 day a month is a lot easier.
When you say a day,
Most of the day. Because there's time in between. There's, we got to change out cards, change out batteries, change out, we're taking care of a lot of things.
Yeah.
At once in order to actually fulfill that and we accomplish that.
So that's step 1. 1 day's worth of podcast videos, is that correct?
Which is what I recommend. Yep.
Okay. And then what would be the next step?
And then the next step would be that our editors go through piecing together.
Okay.
And then
editing for how many pieces would you say?
Well, okay. As well, initially it's just editing the long form. So
what does that mean?
Well, because we have 4 different pulling counter recording here. So making that look good.
Got it.
And initially and everything takes some editing out of the gates. And then going through and segmenting it, finding the short form videos and like that. To put together, like you said, you need a minimum of 50 short forms per long form. 15 per long form in order to get the 60 per 15 shorts per long.
Okay.
In order to get the 60 per long.
Okay.
And so that's what other clients do. So with that, we charge $3,000 per month for that. Basically $1,500 for the full day of recording and the editing of the long form, and then another $1,500 to the short ones. Works out being about $25 per short form.
Okay, so you're looking, a person like me's looking, he'd have to invest $3,000 a month to generate this kind of consistent video.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's one segment of this business. The second segment would be the behind the scenes software that's going to manage
the rest of that. Yeah. Yeah. So in order to get that, I probably be looking at around $300 a month is what I would get.
And what would we call it?
And that would be your CRM and marketing automation, your sales and marketing software. And that's going to fulfill your email marketing, your that would be your having the ability to purchase online without talking to you, and then actually have all the fulfillment and the upsells and everything like that done through technology.
Okay. Customers buying, sir.
Yeah. So it's called it'd be having your it's called CRM, so customer relationship management system.
Okay.
Your marketing automation and your e-commerce, so the ability to purchase online.
That's all part.
All in one solution. Correct.
So we talked about something earlier that I'd like to touch on. So can't think of that word. where it's automated, like you described.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't want to do all this video, but I got 10 customers or group them all together, probably 10 students grouped all together, and I coached them through a class.
Mm-hmm.
Charging each $100, so I have $1,000 in the cold class.
Mm-hmm.
Trading times are running.
Yep. Yep.
You utilize that format or the word you just.
I'd recommend the one that I described, and then when you do coach someone, that's a high ticket item, right? Because your time is valuable.
So, what's been your experience on those high ticket items? What can those range?
It's tough to say because it's going to be based on the industry completely. So, for example, at B2B coaching with a business coaching session, right? So, it's going to be, I hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Whereas a business and silver B2C is typically going to be at a lower price level.
Okay.
I would think if you were offering a service like, a class or something like that, we'd be charging, I would hope, a lot more than $100 if they're actually having communication with you, even if it's 20 people in the class or whatever. You're charging significantly more for something like that. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of testing what the market will allow it to, right? Because even though it sounds like you're doing good work with what you're, what you're trying to sell, we still, we're in business to make money, right?
Yep.
Okay. And so.
That's great. So the first part is the video marketing, video production, right?
Video production is going to help you get in front of, get eyeball. First and foremost, you need eyeballs on your brand and on you, right? The most effective way I know of to do that is through video. And the easiest way to do that is.
And why is it the easiest way? Because of what you said, that you can get a lot of footage quickly, clip it that.
Yeah, because it's a lot less intimidating for most people to have a conversation like this than it is to say, all right,
go out and
go. And right? Okay. That's more intimidating. That's important. And there's a time and a place for those videos. That's damn important. But they take a lot of planning, a lot of work, right? This is pretty easy.
Yeah. We need to clip so many different pictures.
That's right. Yeah.
How long have you been doing when you're just podcasting, if you will?
For 4 years.
Prior to that, you did video stuff as well? Or?
I was working for different software companies, but video was a major part of my strategy, which is why I connected with Mario.
Okay. So it's all starting to make sense. Yeah. Like when you first walk in here, it's kind of intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense.
Huge efficiency.
Right. Exactly. And that's really the key. Like I said, very few people want to be a full-time content creator. Just, record it all the time. If you do, great, right? If that was you, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. Right. Right. You know what I mean? Because you've gone down this road, right? And so this is a very easy way to get the content that's necessary in order to.
So, Jerry, that leads me to my next question. So, if you and I hire you guys and we're going to create content for me, then does the role kind of reverse where you're either asking me questions so I can provide information to my audience?
That will work. That's part of it. What I was recommend is, we start with, let's look at, so for your first day of recording for a month's worth of content, right? Let's find 4 different pain points or 4 different, topics that are we think will identify. Okay. Let's find either, and whether it's just, for your podcast, it's just you talking to camera, that's a lot hard way to do it. But if it's something where you can, you'd be how other people want to, your life, a channel member or whatever, right? Where you guys can have a conversation. There should be some format to it, to a certain degree. But people are connecting more and more with just this organic conversation than they are with, again, where you listen, here's what we, that seems, there's a sales element to that doesn't exist when there's
about the right point because it seems that what you're portraying then is, like you said, a conversation instead of, hey, do this.
Yeah,
That's what's threat.
exactly. And it's just that it touches on the entertainment factor, and if we can also inspire them along the way, people are again more likely to connect with that.
So the first part is video production. The second part is the CRM. What's the third step? Or do we be?
And then you start making sales.
So there's only two steps.
Well, there's a lot of steps in between within those, but yeah.
Oh, I know.
I mean, setting up the automation platform, setting up all these things to run.
And that's part of the CRM. It's part of the CRM.
Okay. CRM marketing automation.
So these are primarily the two steps. So I know you
that's right. Getting you started. Those are the two things that I would recommend. Step one is start creating video and get it out there. Let's stop keeping it a secret of who Kurt is.
Okay.
Okay.
And then if we wait this route, and we started March 1st, how soon do you think we get started making sales? As you said, the third step was making sales. So how would that look like? And I understand it depends on the history and all that
and everything. But it also depends on if we want to start experimenting with putting some money behind other things. But to put you in a position where you actually can make sales, because I assume right now you don't have anything from an e-commerce perspective set up right now. So I would estimate that by the middle of April, you would be in a position where you could make sales. Okay. Assuming you said March, all right. So let's initiate March 1st. Let's get you your record. And then, or sometime beginning of March, so by the middle, we're starting to post. Well, during that time, there's some lag time where then we can connect you with people who can, again, help you start getting these things set up, getting your automation and getting cooked. One thing that's important to keep in mind, especially with a startup, is you don't have to try to, out of the gates, build the automation Taj Mahal, right? We need something to, that's right. Select some basic information and purchase, right? And then
simple. For you guys, that's easy.
Simple for everybody.
And then at the same time, you're still capturing those people who did not buy the course. It's showing it.
Well, that's where like having sort of a lead magnet out there, having something else other than your course that people would give people a reason to give you their information.
Okay.
So that's sort of another offering, if you will, but it's something for free, right? That gives, why do I want to be at Kurt's?
Then I could be honest with both.
Yeah, and could be what happened there. Could be. Yeah. I'm not suggesting that you need to do that, but yeah, that's a great one to do to be able to initially just get people's attention.
That should probably the question. Very thought provoking and exciting.
It's a lot of information. I'm trying not to overwhelm you, but be thorough at the same time.
Talking about a lot about video, but we haven't talked at all about LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Well, that's we know nothing about. That's where the videos are going to be placed,
and the videos are all on this platform.
Yeah, dude.
So do you, if you're, we didn't talk about an advertising budget either. So
right.
So this is all just creating. Can you give me an idea of what it would cost to actually get it out there?
Well, just posting organic, right?
What you were talking about.
So we could post organic for it, and we'd help you with that. Okay. As far as putting an advertising budget, it doesn't take a ton anymore, especially depending on where you're advertising, in order to get in front of a lot of eyeballs and help us start identifying what's connected.
Okay.
Right. So we'd have to look, because it's different by industry and everything. So we'd have to work with another vendor to look at, all right, what is a reasonable budget, and which platforms do we want to push on, right? I would guess that we're probably, looking at Facebook's kind of overpriced in my opinion right now. Facebook and Instagram, in pretty much any industry. But TikTok is good. YouTube is good. right now. I don't foresee you getting a lot of traction on LinkedIn between you and I.
Okay.
But I could. And LinkedIn ads are crazy expensive.
Just curious, why do you think you wouldn't get attracted? Because it's because of what yeah, it's not like I'm selling financial shirts.
That's right. All right. LinkedIn's so salesy too. Anyways, I'm not a fan of LinkedIn right now as a platform. I have a lot of followers there. I don't.
But you're thinking more TikTok than what else?
And YouTube. Just like I feel like Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram right now, is overpriced. And yeah, I've got another client that they work with, another vendor. We create all their videos, and it's like a supplement brand. But they get a lot of traction on TikTok, but not a huge budget either. So.
And Jimmy, the other thing too, I think about my market, it's probably going to be older people, 50.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you set that? You still think TikTok is an option for the woman market? Because I'm assuming TikTok's for younger.
Yeah, I would guess so.
So that would leave my market in YouTube.
I mean, well, no, I would think it would still be an option.
Oh, really?
Yeah, especially on ours, on the whatever results one. You can pull it up here. Like you don't remember how much fun. This part age show graphics. Tools.
I
trying to think. There's somewhere where I can find a page here. It's been a while since I looked at that.
While you're looking that up, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know how we talked about step one is video production and step two CRM. Before we start posting, I got to make sure everything's ready if someone works to buy a course. Or we're not even talking about that.
That's right. That's right. We're not offering to force anyone, right? So because I would also recommend that we go through and recreate the deliverable for your course, as opposed to just the PDF. Like I said, I recommend doing a video where we incorporate the images and stuff from the PDF, just so that you're delivering something of the higher perceived value and that's more personal and we're connecting, because again, that's not the last thing we wanted to buy. Does that make sense?
It does. And that leads me to another question. So my higher end item, Jimmy, would be personal coach.
Yep.
And the downside of that, though, is now I'm a trading guy per month.
That's why there's going to be a much higher price tag. And I think the way you scale between one and the next is by having your online course, right? That's just one of any. And then you have workshops and things like that you do periodically, where you sign up, like 10, 50 or 20 people to work together on something. And then you have your one-to-one, and those are just the elite that you work with. Because then, it's worth your time to spend. It's worth it to spend time on it.
Got it. That all makes sense. I don't know if I can get there, but that's not cash. When I told Mario about it, he said he's more concerned about passion projects than regular business.
Yeah. So, does that answer most of your questions?
That's the right answers, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Yeah.